Welcome to Ignite. Just loading up my PowerPoint here. First session, you never know who's all going to show up, who's got registered, all that fun stuff. So we're going to get started here in a second. Give everybody a chance to get logged in, figure out if they got the right link. And we've got our soon-to-be daddy running behind the scenes. How's everything going with the family? He might
Doing
not.
good.
You doing good? Are you excited?
Yes, sir.
You should be. I have 4 little daughters, and you're not going to know what you did with your time. This is your first, right?
This is my second, actually.
Oh, okay. Well, then you're experienced. You've
Yep.
been through this before. All right. All right, well, I'm going to open it up for anyone that's here. Have you been through Ignite before? Have you been through Ignite with me before? Just kind of let's share who you are and if you've been through before.
Hi, Brad. Hi, everyone. No, I haven't. This is my first time with Ignite.
Okay, great. Well, I'm glad you made it in. And how long have you been in real estate? Are you new to real estate or have you been in real estate for a while?
2 years.
2 years? Okay.
Yeah.
Then this is going to be fun. This is going to be exciting, and I want to hear your feedback on the session and stuff. And I'll kind of give you a quick overview of just my teaching style and stuff, why I think that's going to be exciting that you've got a couple years in and how this class will roll. So thank you for making the commitment.
Thank you.
All right, who else do we got? Maura, if you're in a place where you want to unmute, tell us who you are and if you've been through Ignite before, this is your first time.
Hey everyone, so my name is Moira. I've done Ignite back in 2019. I've done it in person, so that was a different experience. And what other question you asked me? I'm sorry.
That was it. Just how long have you been selling real estate?
So since 2019.
Okay, great. So for both of you, you got a few sales under your belt here and there. Probably.
So,
go ahead.
So yes, I mean so at the moment I work with buyers, like mostly, but also I do have a restaurant business for sale in Secaucus. So please, if you know anyone who is looking to, buy a restaurant business, let me know. And yes.
All right. Same with,
Yes.
it Elizabetta? Is that how you say it?
Absolutely not.
Elizabetta?
Yes.
All right.
Basically, I work with buyers for most of my time, but starting now working on my list. A couple of them, they might come up soon. So I'm working on that more now.
All right. And then we have Lana. If you're in a place where you can unmute, you want to tell people who you are, if you've been through Ignite before, how many times, how long you've been selling.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm excited. This is my first time attending Ignite. So let's see what we can learn today. I've been doing this. I've been licensed since 2012. But I kept my license as a referral agent and been working full-time since 2019.
Awesome. Awesome. I see maybe Goldie in there.
Yes, hi.
How are you?
I'm good. Is this like for beginners, like the new?
It is. Ignite is going to cover just about every aspect of real estate that you can imagine. So whether you're new or whether you're experienced, the way we're teaching this session and the way I teach it, it's going to be good for everybody.
Awesome.
Are you a newer agent?
Yeah, I just joined last week.
All right. Well, so here's the fun part, guys. Here's the way that I've taught. And I don't know if any of you have been in anything that I've ever done before. I'm Brad Korn. I'm international faculty for KW. And in a lot of the old training manuals, I've been at KW for about 20 years, have built a mega agent team to 100 sales a year for 20 plus years in the Kansas City market. I've actually written a book with Michael Gerber. Michael Gerber wrote a book called E-Myth, Why Small Businesses Don't Succeed and What to Do About It. And I read that book probably 25 years ago. It was before the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. And when the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book came out, when Gary wrote this one, you can see all my tabs. I had already basically implemented most of this from the E-Myth book and had created systems and automated a lot of things in our business. And I've had a team as big as 9 people, and I've had a team as big as 1. In fact, in the last 3 years, I've been selling about 70 homes a year for the last 3 years. One part-time assistant for the last year and a half, and just me the year and a half before that, mostly just to prove a point that you can sell 100 homes a year without a big monster team. So I really did it for that perspective, because the book, the E-Myth Real Estate Agent, which I wrote with Michael Gerber, covers a lot of the systems and things, processes, and how I thought and how I set that up to be able to do that. So I've got a lot of experience, national trainer, international trainer for KW. I've been a team leader. I've opened up an office and had ownership in an office. Just involved in a lot of different aspects of the KW process, and probably done a ton of different roles. I've been a MAPS coach for years, and coached some of the top agents. So this information that we're covering, and I think it was, I'm pretty sure it was Goldie that asked about new agent, that this is a conversation, and it's a mastery level conversation around real estate and everything that you're going to experience and what you want to set up. Here's the trick with Ignite. So when and there's a new Ignite coming out too. I can't wait to see it. But this session is really just us for an hour. We're going to talk real world stuff. The more you all participate and bring some of your experiences into the conversation, the more you all will get out of it. In fact, if you've had the experience and you bring that to the conversation and we talk around that, you're going to get maybe just a whole nother outlook on how that could have gone different, or how you would do it different, or how you would make a bigger ROI on it, or how you would get more referrals, every aspect of real estate that there is. So it's a conversation, and it's a mastery level conversation, and don't let that scare you if you're new. This is probably, I think, the 4th or 5th round that we've done this, and like when one ends, we just started again. So we go through this about 4 times a year, and you'll find when you're new, you're getting all the information that you need to know to run a high level real estate business, only you're not necessarily experiencing all the things that we're going to be talking about at the time we're talking about it. So the thing with training is being plugged into the material over and over and over, repetition, repetition, repetition. In fact, if that's boring for you to listen to, that's me. I'm a repetition guy. The way I became a masterful listing agent, and again, this is pre-KW. This was probably when Gary Keller had his one office, or he was maybe a couple offices over 30 years ago when I got into real estate. They had a listing mastery course, and it was 8 weeks long, kind of just like this kind of stuff. It was 8 weeks long, and you could take it as many times as you wanted. So I literally would sign up for that class, and I would just take it over and over and over and over, because I knew listings were important, is what I kind of figured out. This is before I sold my first house. And I just kept taking it over and over and over again until I had that information ingrained in my head. So that made me a super great listing agent, which also was the fuel that drove the business to be 100 sales a year for 20 plus years, and just even 70 in the last 3 years, each year for the last 3 years, with a skeleton team going through COVID and everything. That was awesome. So it is mastery level conversation, and it is a conversation. So the one other thing I want to do, we're going to run through just a couple new people that came in. If you came in, actually, I'll call you out so you can unmute if you're in a quiet place and you want to tell us if you've been through Ignite, how many times you've been through, or how long you've been in business. And then we'll come back around and I'm just going to open it up to see if there's anything that you guys want to make sure you get out of these sessions, because these sessions are for you, not for me. I've done the content. I'm talking from experience. I'm sharing real world stuff. And believe me, when I say mastery level, there's ways to get your offers accepted more often in multiple offer situations. There's ways to make your sellers more money when you sell their property. And we'll just talk about some of those real life experiences when we go through the course. So I think it looks like maybe, let's see, I got Lana, Goldie, Elizabetta, and Maura. So I'm going to give Angelique. After Angelique, we'll give Nair an opportunity. And if you guys want to tell us how, if you've been through Ignite, if you can, Angelique, if you can unmute, great. If not, I'll pass it on to Nair. And if I'm saying your name right, but just tell us how many times you've been through Ignite, or if you've been through Ignite before, and how long you've been selling real estate.
I have not been through Ignite before, and I've been in real estate, I think about 2 years now.
Awesome. I'm loving seeing this experience showing up, a year, 2 years, 3 years under your belt. Is it Nair? Is that how you say your name? We might not have a microphone there. I don't actually see a microphone on there. So one other thing we do have, as in any kind of Zoom, you got the chat box. So you can always chat stuff in there too, if you want to throw something in there. And I'm going to give you guys all my email so that you have that, and you will have my cell phone. Because here's the other thing. I am just an agent in the trenches like you. I mean, I coach and speak and do all that other stuff too. But you can call me anytime on my cell phone and ask me a quick question. If you needed clarity around any of the content, any of that stuff, you've got my email in there. You can shoot me an email. If you do any, I should say, if that doesn't sound very boldy, if you've been through bold yet, and we got Boldy on the phone, or Goldie on the call too. Not very bold to say if. When you do your assignments, if you want accountability and you want to make sure you're getting the most that you can get out of this class, I'll give you some tips in a minute on that. But send me the stuff, like as you fill out the forms and documents, send them to me. I mean, you got free coaching with me. That's what your office has done for you. And Mary Beth called me and said, would you be one of our coaches? So I'm available for you guys from that perspective. All right, we're going to jump over to Bianca, and then we'll go to Liz after that. But Bianca, if you can unmute and want to tell us how many times you've been through Ignite and how long you've been in real estate, that would be great. And if you, there you go.
No, I haven't been through your course before, so it's my first time.
All right.
And I've been in real estate for 6 months, so.
6 months. All right, cool. All right. And
I heard a lot about your class, and that you can really learn a lot in this, so that's why I registered.
Awesome. I'm glad you're here. And just remember, this is all for you guys too. So anytime you have clarity or want to ask them, or you just want to zing me some kind of crazy situation and put me on the spot.
Okay.
Said I've been doing this for 30 years. So
Thank you
anything
so
else,
much.
Bianca? Yeah.
No, that's about it so far.
All right. And then I think we got Liz's last one that we've got. If you want to unmute and let us know how long.
Hi, Brad. So
Hey.
I started back in December, right before the holidays. So I did start your last Ignite, but I started halfway. So this will be my first full one that I would like to just I had such a good time with you that I came back.
Awesome. Good. We have a good mix of people in here, guys. We're going to have a fun group. If I were you, knowing just what we're going to go through over the next 18 sessions. So it's basically about a 2-month commitment. It's 1 hour and it's in this time slot. I would put this on your calendar and block it out, because the content and the topics are different in every session. And we're going to start like today and tomorrow. We're going to start with some core base building, just business building things. But we get into very, very detailed seller and buyer situations. And even if the topic is something about sellers and you're a buyer's agent on a team or something, everything that we talk about is pretty much going to relate to your situation. Even if you're a buyer's agent, in some of the seller stuff, I'm going to tell you or share with you some information of how you can benefit your buyer business by being in that seller class. And so it's really an agent in the trenches, how I've applied the things I've learned out of the MREA book, and most of that, well, it's all in Ignite, and how I related that to my business to grow my business. So I'm going to give you a couple of quick tips to get the most out of this whole 18 run. First of all, they are recorded. So if you do have that $10 million listing appointment that you need to replace it on your calendar and miss one of these calls, they are recorded. You should have a link to the content. If not, you have my email on my cell phone. Just let me know and we'll make sure you get the links to the content. We do have the recorded calls. We also have all the recorded calls. So you can even listen to the same class in 4 different, settings where it's not a PowerPoint that we just read off of. So there's different content in every class. In fact, the more that you guys bring to the class, again, the more you're probably going to get out of this. So here's my suggestion. And this is just a coach, trainer, to get the most out of the information. You're going to invest this hour into the class. Here's how you get the most out of it. So when you download your sessions, we're going to go through the Spark sessions first. We're going to go through Spark 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then we're going to go through Elements 1 through 9. So you can download these books, these manuals ahead of time. In fact, what I'm going to suggest after today, so tomorrow, you're going to download Spark 2 and you're going to skim through the material sometime throughout the day, in the evening, in the morning. You're just going to make a 2-month investment in your real estate business. And the content, once you skim through the material, you can highlight anything that you might have questions about. Or if you're reading something that you had a situation happen that you'd like, oh yeah, that's kind of what I've been through before, or what I struggled with, or where I was stumped. I'm not sure if we can get that link to the content in the chat box, or if that's all in an email. It looks like somebody just posted where to get the material. So if you download Spark number 2 for tomorrow, skim through it sometime tomorrow. Then when you come to the session on Wednesday, we go through the content, and then you can add to your notes. And then right after the session, or tonight, what you'll do is you'll go through this again, where everywhere you took notes, whether it was a piece of paper that you took notes on or you had the manual. By the way, you don't need the manual when you come to this session. If you don't have it, don't worry about it. You're not going to miss something out of the session, because we're just having a conversation around the material. So you'll always be able to get it and pull it up. We also have the slides going. So if for some reason I didn't turn the slideshow on, which I should probably do that now, share my screen, you'll have a slide that will have some content on it for you to add to your notes. Just make sure, so everybody can pretty much see the PowerPoint now, right? We all good? Give me a couple of nods, yeses if you got your camera on, thumbs up. Yep, okay, cool. All right, so skim the material, we go through the material, review your notes in the material. If you do that, and you do that for the next 2 months, you're going to have this stuff anchored in your brain a little more, because we find that a lot of times when we go through a lot of information, if you sit through, how many training classes have you been to that you don't remember everything that they covered in the training session? And that's just because we're only going to remember about 20-25% of what we hear until you need it. So that's the other thing. If you've got a listing appointment coming up and you want to sharpen your skills, you can go back into the recorded calls. Even right now, you could go into the recording calls and pull up the how to get the seller agreement signed, or how to get a buyer agency signed. All those sessions are in there. They're about an hour long, and give you a lot of content and just scripts and things like that, real world stuff. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it back over to you guys for a second. If there's anything that when you hear fuel your career, and this is like your big why, it's the script on how to reconnect with your database. I'm gonna layer some information in here about your database and your contacts that honestly will give you an opportunity to close 100 transactions from the list of people that you already have. That piece we're going to layer on the front. That way, as we go through Ignite and you keep working on this list, you will actually be reconnecting with enough people to do 100 sales. And I know that sounds crazy, but I'll share the numbers with you in a minute. But when you hear big Y, your database, getting your career started, is there anything that you're hoping you want to get out of this first session that would make it so awesome you'll have to come to the rest of the sessions? Anybody have any pre-expectations of today? And better yet, I'm going to throw in or why you showed up today. Yeah, go ahead.
Better skills.
What's that?
Yes, to learn this exactly, to get some skills.
Skills. Okay, gotcha. We are going to have lots of skills, lots of sharpening the skills, and anything. And if you've been through any kind of KW training, we're going to go up a notch, and it's like internalizing it and applying it and seeing how it works in real life. Absolutely. Anybody else have anything that you showed up today going, man, I'm hoping this class does this for me, or provides this or provides that?
So can I show you something?
Yes.
So I don't know if you can see, but look what I have. That's very heavy, by the way.
Yeah.
That's super heavy.
The
That is the
3-ring
big-
binder. Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
love it. I know this is only what I think the 4th or 5th time I've taught this, and I'm still not in the binders yet. And I keep meaning to put them all in a binder. That is awesome. Anyone else have anything like going on in your business, or you think you're struggling with to get things started that you want to get out of our Ignite sessions?
I have a question.
Yes.
I don't know if you do this because I'm not really sure what Ignite is yet, but do you go through the contracts, like how to write them up, or is that something else?
Yeah, so great question. So Ignite is going to be an overview of your real estate business, along with some specifics on how to grow your business and how to run your business. And so the way that it's designed is they created these 9 sessions under the Spark that are how you build and grow your real estate business. And then the element section is on the actual, like, how to really run it and work it. Going through an actual contract and filling in the blanks, that would be another session that your office probably already does. I don't know, you guys tell me, in your office, or do you see on your training calendar regularly, is there either like a broker or somebody that kind of has contracts classes? Yes. So that is the one thing. I am in Kansas City, Missouri. So I'm in the Kansas City area, where we've become more famous now with Patrick Mahomes in the football era stuff, with our Kansas City Chiefs have made a place on the map. So we're like center right in the middle of the United States. So there are a lot of contract specific things that I might not be able to answer. Also, I'll be talking from experience from Missouri. That's where I've been selling real estate for 30 years. Actually, I did start selling in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Minneapolis and St. Paul, the Twin Cities in Minnesota. So my first, 3 years of real estate was in Minnesota. And then I moved back to Kansas City and have been selling here for over 30 years. So if you do have some specific questions about anything that might show up during that, definitely bring it up and ask. If I can answer it, I will. If I think it's specific to your area, I may refer you to someone in your office. So with that being said, Goldie, do you have a good contact, like a PC coach or somebody in your office, if you have some specific questions that you know who to go to?
I could definitely do research and look, but I appreciate your answer. So thank you.
Yeah, and I'll even kind of see if I can even make a thing to figure out which office are you in?
Valley Realty.
Okay, great.
Thank you so much.
Yep. All right. Well, let's get into it and get you a taste of some of the things that we're going through now. And here's where I've got to be honest with you, because anytime I'm coaching, and I've been coaching professionally for 15 years, got several coaching certifications. So the way I work, just so you guys get to know me a little bit, in my real estate business, what I did was I just hung around successful agents. I asked questions and I just did what they did. They said they did. When they're up on stage at family reunion and you're watching all that stuff, you're going to training classes. If they make sense and they're along the line of what I work, and or they just, they've proven it, I will go up and get to know them, meet them. In fact, right now, one side thing that you want to do, this is what I do on every webinar training class, is I've written down, by now, I've already written down everybody's names that are on these boxes. And I'm figuring out what office they're in. And I'm going to just go to Google. I'm going to search their name. I'm going to find their number, and I'm going to introduce myself. So you guys have a lot of agents and offices scattered all over the place. And I know it's like, I know we need listings and we'll kind of drive a little farther than we normally drive. But if you can create a referral network within your area where you guys, and I don't know what your traffic's like. In fact, that's a good question to ask right now. I've asked this several times, but I just want to hear it from you guys too. In your market, are you guys set up more like a metropolitan area, or are you more of a suburb where you've got neighborhoods, you've got neighborhood communities and names, more houses with yards, or are you in high rises and all that other stuff? What would you say your markets are? You guys can just share a few things.
Mine is more of a neighborhood thing.
All right, and add to that too what you think like the average price range is that for those neighborhoods in your area.
For Bergen County, probably 500K, I would say.
Okay. Anybody else, neighborhoods or more metropolitan, and what's your average price range? We got an agent in training right there. All right. Is everybody pretty much neighborhoods? Anybody anything other than neighborhoods, and anybody in any other price range other than say 400 to 500,000? I think that's where most of the offices are.
I think mine, I'm in Rockland County, so mine's a little bit more. It is suburbs, but it's going for like probably like 700-800 the houses or more.
Oh my gosh, you can make double what I'm sharing with you today. You could make double what I make, double, maybe triple. Our average price point in my little marketplace before this craziness going on is more like 150,000, but we're like in the 250 range. So you guys, any numbers and any kind of stories I share with you, just double it. All right, anybody else before we jump into the slides? Okay, so today we're going to talk a little bit about your big why. Oh, that's what I was going to say. So here in coaching, here's what happens. And so when a plane is taking off from the airport, it's got to get the energy going. It's got to speed up, and get going fast enough to take off, right? So the first couple sessions are that taking off of the runway. Here's the most important thing I can tell you today, because I'm going to give you some very important assignments to work on while we're getting off the ground. And then we'll get into the stuff I know you're waiting for, is like the buyers and the sellers and finding the listings and getting the buyer agency signed and getting my multiple offers accepted over my competition. Those kind of things are all things that we're going to talk about, but we do have to get the plane off the ground. There is some very, very core things that you need to really work on and figure out so that you can build a solid real estate business. So when I talk about big why, if you've heard that before, listen, we talked earlier about skills. That is probably one of the most masterful skills that if you walk out of one of these sessions and you learn to figure out the consumer's whys, take it out of context from you as an agent, figuring out what your big why is, what's going to make you get up and get out of bed every day and sell real estate. You know, we are all self-employed. So we don't clock in. We don't have to show up at 8 o'clock in the morning or 9 o'clock. We don't have to stay till 5 p.m. We're self-employed. So that can also be a detriment though, if you're self-employed, because you don't have to clock in. So a lot of times we have sessions around like, what's your big why? What's going to drive you to put the extra work in? What's going to drive you to pick up a phone and call people, that strangers, and try and talk them into doing real estate with you? Because something's got to drive you to do that. In fact, in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, Gary has said it. In the book, it's 1 hour to 2 hours of lead generation, which now it's really 3 to 4 hours of lead generation a day. And we're self-employed, and we're talking a day is every single day, 5 days a week. So when you do that, and I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, there's an agent in our office here in Kansas City. I know he's on the phone 4 hours a day, from 9 o'clock, 10, 11, 12. I think he takes a break around lunch, finishes up his calls, and he goes out on appointments. His team members make him sit in an office and make phone calls 5 days a week. That kid has 11 Lamborghinis. He's probably 10 to 20 years younger than me. He has 11 Lamborghinis. He makes $1.3 million a year. And what he does is like a job, but it's like getting paid $1 million salary, right? He makes over $3 million in gross commissions, 300 sales a year, but it's because he's on the phone for 4 hours a day. So how many of you would be okay with maybe $500,000 a year, right? If you can get to $500,000 a year, you only have to do that half as much. But anyway, I'm going to help you set up, understand the systems to set up a database that will eventually just start spitting these sales back out to you. And as we go through this big why and the forward, and your database is a gold mine, you guys are going to walk away with today with probably the most major core stuff that you can put in place, that if you do this for the rest of our session and continue to do it after, I can promise you that you will be closing 5 to 6 to 7 to 10 deals a month, every month forever. And I'll be able to prove it too, based on some of the numbers that we talk about. Okay, so let me get in here and jump into the slides. Your big why. Sometimes I have to get into my handout and make sure I cover all my notes and stuff that I want to help you with. Okay, so your big why is that thing that if you've gone through Bold, which is a Bold class, is an intense 7-week course that's available. It comes through the area a couple times a year, and it's where you sign up. It's like $800, $900. It's 7 weeks, and it's very intense. Anybody been through Bold before? Yep, see a couple hands, yep. So what it is, it's the adrenaline shot to get us hammered and focused on 20 calls a day or 100 calls a week, right? And that is probably, if you've been through Bold and you didn't quite do your 100 calls every single week, what I find is we do that the first week because we're all excited about it. And you guys tell me if your experience was different. But by week 2, do you find that it's a little harder to find 20 calls a day, every day, 5 days a week? And let alone, let's go into week 3. What the heck? I spend more time trying to figure out who to call, let alone just call 3 to 5 people a day, right? Anybody else in the same boat with me, right? So when we say, what's your big why? It's like, man, what would that look like to have 700 names before you even start Bold? And you already have the 20 names a day selected so that all you did was pull up your 20 names. Actually, I'm going to take it one step further. And I want you to hear this. This has nothing to do with Bold. This has to do with where you're sitting right now, your seat that you're in right now, going through Ignite, and how you take advantage of this. If when you're going through Bold, knowing it's 7 weeks, I'm going to roll on to the second week of Bold. What if I took a list? Actually, I'm going to ask this a different way. I want you to throw in the chat, like go to your Facebook and click on your friends tab and see how many friends you have on Facebook if you're in front of your computer. If you think you kind of know, or you've looked at your tab before and you know about how many friends you have on Facebook, start posting those numbers in the chat for me. How many friends do you have friended on Facebook? Don't worry about who they are, what they are. There's a number on your friends tab. Start typing some of those numbers in there. In the meantime, I want, if you know your number on Facebook, I want you to open up your contacts in your cell phone. Oh, I did good. I don't have my cell phone in front of me to distract me during the class. Open up your cell phone and go to contacts. And if your iPhone, scroll to the very bottom, and iPhone will show you a number of total contacts that you have in your phone. So I want the total number of contacts you have in Facebook, and I want the total number of contacts that you have in your cell phone. And if you're on the other provider other than Apple, I'm not sure where you find somebody might share with me how you find how many people are in your phone. All right, so I'm seeing 2,500 on Facebook, got 428 in the phone. Let's see. Let's see, 553 on the phone and 400 in Facebook. I got 489 on the phone. I have a 120 here. All right. So what we're looking at there is somewhere between 1,000 to 2,000 to 3,000. The 489 on the phone probably has another 120 on Facebook, I guess, right? So Elizabetta, you have about 620. We got 760 altogether. So I'm going to use an average number, 1,000. Here's what we know about real estate is that people move, and you can type this number in too. So thanks for participating, because it really makes it real, and you guys all validate your numbers rather than me just giving you a number. How often does the average person move in your market? Is it every 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years? I've heard all those numbers before. I'm seeing 5 to 8. Guys think it's about every 5 right now with the market the way it is, even though there's a shortage of homes and people to go to. Even if they stayed in their property for 10 years, that would be a slower market. Like when the market was crashing or upside down, or people could not sell their house for as much as they wanted to, they might stay for a few extra years. What we know, according to NAR, National Association of Realtors, it's somewhere around 5 to 7 years. When the market's hot, and in 5 years, think about in 5 years, go back, pick any house that's on the market today, just as the new listings are coming up, any of the neighborhoods that you're familiar with, and go back and pull up the sales in that neighborhood 5 years ago. How much do you think they're probably going up by? A couple 100,000, 100, 150, 200,000 more now, 5 years later. That's going to cause people to move quicker, even though there's a shortage of homes. If they're like, I can get $200,000 equity for my house or $100,000 equity for my house in 5 years, it gets them thinking about it. Okay. Now I'm going to give you some absolute secrets on how you can find listings that aren't on the market, off the market things. And that's why this is 18 sessions. I can't give it all to you. I wish I could just mail you all a computer chip and you could plug my computer chip in your brain and have all the stuff that you need. Kind of like, what is that Keanu Reeves movie? Oh crud, what's that movie? Matrix, right? Where they just like upload how to fly a helicopter. I wish I could just give you all this stuff. Unfortunately, we got to go through it, right? So what I'm talking about here on your big why is figuring out the big why when you're going through bold and you got to call 20 people a day. That's not our assignment, by the way. I'm a little nicer than that, but I want you to call and connect with 5 people a day. I do want you to write the number 5, because if you, just for you to call and reconnect with the people that you already know, based on this list, if you've got 1,000 people, and we're going to say they're moving every 5 years, but I'm also going to share if it's 10 years, what that number would be. So if you have 1,000 people between Facebook and your cell phone, these are people that you've crossed paths with in this life, so for some reason, whatever it might be. Doesn't mean you're super close, but y'all kind of know each other. You're not just accepting total strangers on Facebook as friends. And in your cell phone, they've called you or you've called them and your phone captured them in the contacts. If you go through your calls dialed out and your calls received that are not in your contacts, this number gets bigger. And these are people that called you for something. It could be, you know, just like an auto repair shop, but it's a local person that lives in your community that you've done work with and done business with, that if you get that relationship started with them, you could be their realtor of choice when they decide to buy and sell. The problem with our industry right now is everybody goes out and looks for the next deal, looks for the next deal, looks for the next deal. So like in Bold, we'll call 20 people a day looking for an appointment, 20 people the next day looking for an appointment, 20 people the next day looking for an appointment. So far in that example, we've called 60 people looking for hopefully 3 appointments, right? And it really boils down to, if you've been through Bold several times, by the time you contact 100 people, you might get 1 or 2 appointments. Now I'm going to pause there for a second because I'm about ready to share with you why this session, why this whole run is going to be so fun and very informational too. How many of you have ever wondered, if I called 100 people, why is only 1 or 2 people moving? Has anybody ever wondered about that? Or do you know the reason why? If you call 100 for sale by owners during Bold, for some reason, you don't get 100 listings. I mean, you don't even get 20 listings from calling 100 for sale by owners, but they're for sale by owners. These are people that want to sell their house. Expireds. If you call 100 expired listings, how many listing appointments do you actually get, right? Yeah, 5% to 20%. What we find in Bold is if you made 100 contacts in your week during Bold, and think about your Bold experience, they had you come up and ring the bell at the next session of how many appointments you had. And it's usually around 1 or 2 or 3 appointments for every 100 people that you contact. So this part doesn't make any sense, except I'm going to tell you why. It's always going to be a 1 to 3% conversion rate. If you're thinking you need to get internet leads and all that stuff coming in from Zillow and Trulia and try and get these buyers and more business coming in, it's always 1 or 2 or 3%. And I'll tell you why. Those 1,000 people that are sitting on your Facebook friends list and in your cell phone. If you have 1,000, that's the average that we have here. If you have 700, your number is just a little less than this. If you have more than that, it's more than this. Whoever's at 3,000, it's 3 times the number I'm about to share. But if they're moving every 5 years, you basically, that's 20%. And for math, I'm going to keep it simple. Let's just say it's every 10 years. So 1,000 people moving every 10 years means how many people are moving in the next year. If you have 1,000 people and they're moving every 10 years, so just take 1,000 divided by 10 is how many people are moving in the next year. You just post it, or you can unmute and shout it out too. Is it 100? Who says 100? Yep. So that's the easy math, 100. So if they're moving every 5 years, that same 1,000 people means 200, right? Everybody follow me with the math? So if we said that the people are moving every 5 to 8 years, there's somewhere between 100 to 200 people moving for every 1,000 people that already know you. Here's the thing. The reason why it's always going to be 1 or 2%, 2 or 3% conversion rate forever is the easiest math is to share the 10 with you. The 1,000 moving every 10 years is 100. 100 divided by 12 months is 10, right? So that's if you connected with 1,000. I'm going to back it up to our Bold week as an example and say 100 contacts a week, because that was the example I started with. If you called 20 people a day, every day, 5 days a week for Bold, your first week, you end up with around 1 or 2 appointments. So if I have 100 people and 10 of them are moving in the next 12 months, I called those 100 people right now today, right? The reason why I don't get 10 appointments is because out of those 100 people that I called during that first week of Bold, not everybody in there knows they're one of the 10 that are moving this year yet. Does that make sense? See, only 1 or 2 of those 10 people would know they're probably thinking about moving this month or next month. They've been starting to think about it. The other 8 people of those 10 that are going to move in the next 12 months don't know they're one of the 10 until a month from now, 2 months from now, 3 months from now. In fact, let me keep going here. The 10 that are going to move next year, because it's going to be 10 people moving every year for the next 10 years if we use that math. And in that example, the 10 that are moving next year have no clue they're thinking about moving. The problem is 90 of the 100 people that you talk to on that day, in fact, 98 of the 100 people that you talk to this week don't know they're a buyer yet. And they're not going to know they're a buyer until it's their time to be the one that's moving, till they've been in their house for 10 years. And I'm going to show you the 5-year too. So just hang with me. This is for the easy math. So there's always only going to be 1 or 2 people moving out of 100 people for the rest of your career. When you bring in 100 internet leads, if you actually got them on the phone, all 100 of them, you would get 1 or 2 that are ready to look at houses right now, that have done the pre-approval process, that are ready to buy a house right now and have the money. Problem with the internet is, just like everything else, they've started thinking about it. They started doing property searches, but they're not like ready to go yet. They still have to get pre-approved. They still have to get their process going. So you got to stay in touch with people over that whole period of time. And what we do in Bold, we called 100 people the first week of Bold, and we got 1 or 2 appointments, maybe. You know, your first week might be rough and you didn't get any. And it's just because you didn't know the scripts and stuff. But if what most people do is they call another 100 people the second week, and another 100 people the third week, and another 100 people the fourth week, and they never call the first 100 again. But if I called the first 100 every single month for the next 10 years, I will get 100 sales, because everybody's moving every 10 years. Now, when we use our 5-year math, that means out of 100, 20 people are moving every year for the next 5 years. And again, if you're calling them this month, that's the 1 or 2 or 3 appointments. You're going to find 2 or 3 of those 20 people the time you call. If you call them all again next month, you'll find the next 2 or 3 that are moving in the next 2 or 3 months. And so those other people that are moving a year to 5 years from now don't know they're moving. Does this all make sense? Is this a different perspective on this number? Am I explaining it well enough that you're getting a little better look at it? So what I'm going to challenge you to do throughout this session, and starting today, grab a blank or like a spiral notebook from Walmart, a 50-cent notebook with the lines on it, college lines. Go through and write down every person's name on your Facebook friends list in your notebook, and just use 2 lines per name, because you need enough room to put their phone number, their address, and I'm actually going to say I don't even care about their email, because too many times we go straight to email, and you got to connect with these people first. We're going to talk about forward here in a second, and that's the method to use to reconnect with these people. So if you can keep in this perspective throughout the whole course, that I've got this notebook and I've been writing the names down of every single name on Facebook friends list, I wrote in this notebook. And then I turned around when I got done with my Facebook friends list, because you have to do that on one sitting. You realize when you leave Facebook and come back, it mixes them all up again. So you have to go to your Facebook friends tab, scroll all the way to the bottom and let the screen refresh until you get to the bottom and it doesn't refresh anymore. Scroll back up to the top and start writing down every name that's in there until you get to the bottom, and just get every name in your notebook. It's the only way to do this. There's not a better way. And by you writing the name, what's happening in your brain is you're wondering, who the heck is this person? Why am I friends with them? And it's going to come back to you later, because we're going to research and find their phone number and their address, which you'll probably have their email too. We want to get all that information so that that becomes our feeding source to start feeding our database 5 a day, every single day. And you're going to feed your database. If that's command, you're going to feed 5 people a day into command by picking up the phone, connecting with them, writing them a note, take them out of your notebook, scratch them out of your notebook and put them in command, because now you verified their address, their phone number, they answered the phone. So they don't even come out of this notebook until you get them on the phone. And I'm telling you, for you that have 1,000 people, if you did 5 a day, 5 days a week, that's going to be 25 people a week. 25 people a week, not even bold numbers, not 20 a day, 25 people a week. This is your real estate business, right? And I do that for 4 weeks in the month. That's 100 people a month. So it's going to take me 10 months to connect with all 1,000 people. If you have 2,400 people, it's going to take you 2 years. 100 people a month, 12 months is 1,200 people a year. Listen to me. If you call 5 people a day, 5 days a week for the next 12 months, and you connect with 1,200 people, I know this, somewhere between 120 to 200 of those people are going to be moving every 12 months. Now you're going to miss a whole bunch of them. The most frustrating thing you're going to find is when you actually start doing this, how many people you will call within the first month and say, oh my gosh, we just bought. Thank you so much for calling and checking on us. You're like, oh, I missed it. And it's people that you know, right? Because our industry was teaching us to go look for the next deal and blow past everybody who's actually, everybody's going to move. So you're capturing those relationships, writing those in a notebook, and that becomes your master list. Once you get them on the phone, you get to move them into your database and put them on a smart plan that will remind you to call them again 2 more times over the next 8 weeks. And I know we're getting a little detailed here, but 2 more times over the next 8 weeks is what's in the 8x8, right? There's no class. If somebody says, oh, put them on an 8x8, put your whole database on an 8x8, you won't do it because you haven't talked to these people in years and you don't even know who they are. And the last thing you would do is start spamming people that know you. But if you pick up the phone and you have a conversation that you can actually write a note to them, that's when you're going to start doing that. Now, here's what I'm going to say about your big why. Because in this conversation, I'm going to give you permission to not talk about real estate on this first call. We're going to talk about the Ford, that method to use, what script to use when you're reconnecting with people. But what I'm going to tell you is in that conversation, once you can find out what somebody else's why is, when you figure out what your why is, and you can figure out what your buyers and your sellers' whys are by asking questions, you're going to get masterful at being able to talk about the why to get them to make the decision to list with you and buy with you. So what I can tell you about why is you want to figure out everyone's why when you're talking to them. However, I do not want you to confuse this. This is Coach Korn talking. I don't want you to confuse it with reconnecting with people. Okay, let me pause there for a minute. I've thrown a lot of numbers out there. What's making sense? What's not making sense? What questions do you have? And there is no dumb questions in this because it's very simple math, but it's very real math. Who's got it? Who's got it at a whole different level? Like just share what your aha is so far. Are you guys jaws on the floor trying to figure out, oh my gosh, what have I been doing for 2 years or 3 years or whatever? Family, occupation, recreation, dreams. Yep, that is what Ford is, right? And we're going to cover that here in just a second because I want you to know how to have the conversation to connect. Let me see here. I don't know why, but when I call expireds, they almost always say they've sold, even though there's no tax record of it. Yep, Angelique, here's why. We're calling strangers out of the blue, and there's a defense mechanism in our brain as human beings called the limbic part of the brain. The limbic part of the brain is this natural defense mechanism that blocks any information from coming into our head unless we deemed it safe. For example, I know this is a bad example. It's going to date me. Malls, going to the store. When you walk into a lot of stores and they have salespeople, if those still exist, I know everybody's probably younger ones are all using Amazon. If you go into any store and a salesperson approaches you and say, how may I help you? What do you usually say? Just looking.
No, thank you.
Yep, just looking. And I can tell you right now, I can look at every one of you and go, you know, I don't buy that. I don't think you all are running around every day just wandering into stores and you're just looking, right? You're there for something to get in and out of the store as quickly as possible. If that same salesperson would come up to you as you entered a store and said, because I would imagine that we all look busy. Do you guys all walk fast? You actually walk with a purpose, and when you're going into stores and things like that? I'm not talking about the grocery store, but I'm talking about if you're at the mall and you're going to get something, a bag or backpack or a new computer or whatever, we probably look pretty busy. I mean, we're determined and we're coming in. If I saw that and I said, hey, you look like you're in a hurry, can I help you get out of here a little quicker? How many of you just met your favorite salesperson on the planet today, right? It's like, oh my gosh, yes, I just need a laptop. Great, let me show you what we got. And on the way, we're gonna pick up several other things I'm gonna send you home with, a bag to put it in and some other cool stuff. But I noticed that, and your brain said, oh my gosh, they noticed that I'm busy and they're paying attention to me. So when we make these calls, these forward calls, which I'm gonna jump over to that here in just a second, we make these forward calls and reconnect, which you need to have your notebook going for this to work, or you won't be able to do it consistently, that you're going to be able to just connect with people first. And when you call an expired, they don't know you from Adam, they are always busy. Even though their house is off the market, they probably don't have time to hear the pitch. Now, if I wanted to put this into perspective, if I had my list of expireds and I go into Facebook and I could actually find them on Facebook, do you know how Facebook will show you that you have mutual friends with all your friends, right? If you pull up somebody's name and says, hey, you have 5 mutual friends. If you were to go to Facebook on that expired, I'm just giving this to you as an example, and you had 5 mutual friends who knew that expired, and you called those friends first who you talked to and kept in touch with and said, hey, do you know Patty Smith? Yeah, I know Patty, went to college with her. It's like, oh, I just noticed I'm in real estate. And if you hadn't told them that, but if they knew you were in real estate, you'd be like, I just saw she tried to sell her house. And for some reason, I wasn't the one that she picked, or I didn't even know she was thinking of selling. I don't know her. Do you know her well enough that, her house just didn't sell? It's expired. Do you know her well enough? Oh my gosh, I know her very well. Yes, she needs to call and use you. Great. How many of you think that might be a little easier expired listing call to make? And it's because you're coming in now as a recommended source and you're being third party endorsed. Or if I knocked on the door and met them and gave them some tips and things on staging their house, or showed them why their house didn't sell, after I get to know them a little better and know their big why. Why were you guys selling? What was important about that day? How does that change, not selling your house now? What's important about that? And once I understood that, and then I started addressing my follow-ups all around their why, I might get that listing in the next 2 or 3 or 4 appointments. But if it's cold out of the blue, it's going to be a 1 to 2% conversion rate all day long, which means you got to go talk to 100 expireds to get 1 or 2. I know our time's definitely going by a little faster today, but this is kind of the core stuff that I definitely want to cover the Ford real quick before we get done, but this is just the core stuff to get the plane off the ground. So in this just is telling us that the reason what Spark is how to grow your business, and the elements is going to be what you do specifically to grow your business. So I'm going to skip through a couple things here on starting with your sphere. This, I think, is the absolute key factor to you getting your business off the ground faster, by creating that notebook list and getting those names written down. Get them all out of your phone, get them all out of Facebook, get them all out of everywhere else you have, your inbox and your email box. If you could get every name or anything in your notebook and start looking for those phone numbers and addresses, that is your sphere. These are people that have already crossed paths with you. And in your sphere, we get this roller coaster ride in our business because we work real hard to call some people. We pick up a couple of appointments, and then we're not calling people anymore because we don't know what we're doing with all of our new listings or showing them houses, that we quit calling people. And then you got to do it again. This also could be looking at every 5 years. So they buy a house in 5 years, and they're not going to buy for 5 years. And then they start thinking about it in 5 years and they move again. So by staying in touch with your sphere for the next 5 to 10 years, you will actually capture 100% of the business. Somebody said earlier, family, occupation, recreation, dreams. So once you get this list, if you were just to call through your list until 5 people answered their phone today, and all you said was, Open it with this, because everybody always says, what's the script? What's the script, right? You don't say, hi, this is Brad Korn with Keller Williams when I'm calling my friend from school, right? I'm going to call up and go, hey, Kirk, it's Brad. What's up, Brad? How you doing? It's like, man, I apologize. I was just thinking today, because you went to this class, I was just thinking today, I've not done a good job of keeping in touch with you. And, you know, with everything going on, COVID, it's just made everybody a lot closer and family. And I just thought I need to pick up the phone and call and see how you're doing. You know, how's the family going? You guys doing all right? Oh yeah, family. It's like, how many kids do you have now? See, I don't even know. Like, if you went through your database from A to Z, or you make this list and you go from A to Z, you're probably not even going to be able to tell me who 60 to 70% of them are without looking up a picture or something, right? And then you won't be able to tell me how many of them have dogs, how many of them have cats, how many hate cats, how many hate dogs, how many kids do they have, who's divorced, who's dead, right? All these things, because we're disconnected from our list. So by calling through and going, how's the family? What's changed since I stayed in touch? And I apologize for not keeping in touch. How's everybody, right? How's work been? What have you been doing for fun? Anything fun going on? So I'm just doing general conversation. What's going to drive you all crazy is this is not for appointments yet. What we're doing is setting the groundwork for you to write them a note. And just so, it was so great touching base with you today. Glad to hear that the family's doing well. No business card, no nothing. Now, listen, I'm Mr. Branding. I'm Mr. Marketing. I'm Mr. Everything Real Estate. But you have to earn the right to get past that limbic part of their brain to not be, how may I help you? I can help you with real estate. You know anybody buying and selling real estate? Guys, they haven't thought about you or real estate ever. And you're just coming out of left field. So by connecting family, occupation, recreation, dreams, what you're doing is you're listening for those whys, right? And you're going to hear stuff like, oh my gosh, we've been fixing up so much stuff around the house and that list just keeps on expanding. We keep finding more and more wrong. See, like right there, if it was my third or fourth call that I was touching base with them, I would be able to say, hey, a few weeks ago when I reconnected with you, you said something about all those projects piling up. Do you know we just sold a house last week that there were no bathrooms in it? This is real. I really sold a house that had 0 bathrooms in it. They were completely gutted, not a toilet, not a sink, not even sheetrock in the bathrooms. I just sold that house for $200,000, had competing bids on it. And so I know my conversation can be around, hey, you know, you were working on a lot of stuff and you seemed a little stressed about it. I'd love to come over and just see what you were thinking you needed to do to get your house all fixed up. Have you thought about selling? Well, yeah, that's why we were fixing all this stuff. It's like, oh, let me come look at it. You might not even have to do all this stuff to get your house sold in this market. See, that's something I know from experience. There's not enough houses on the market. So they might be able to just put it on the market the way it is. And I've done it time and time again, rather than having them spend $20,000 or $30,000 doing stuff. So they could take 10,000 less and not put any money into it and not take a chance on not getting their money back. Or they have to go all the other way and do everything. They have to totally upgrade and blow it out of the water if they want to make a ton of money. So the family, occupation, recreation, dreams allows you to keep that as your template. No scripts, just connect with them. Pull up Facebook and see, do they have cats? Do they have dogs? Do they live in a lake? What are they doing for fun? Do they have kids? All that stuff's on Facebook. But you want to talk to them about it and use Facebook to direct your conversation. So if you pulled up my page and you see that we're out on the lake, it's like, what have you been doing for fun? It's like, oh my gosh, I live at the lake now. We love it here. Lake life is amazing. It's like, yeah, I saw that on Facebook. It looks like you guys have a lot of fun out there. I'm just connecting. And then at the end of the call, well, I just was thinking of you, wanted to touch base, see how you're doing. Nothing about real estate. I hang up. I write them a handwritten note. So great to connect with you. Glad to hear that the lake life is doing so well and things are going good. You know, be safe, Brad. Drop it in the mail. No business card, no nothing. Now, if I'm following the Millionaire 8x8 model, there's going to be 8 touches in the next 8 weeks. Everything's real estate. They're going to get a resume in the letter for week 1. They're going to get an email with a link back to my website to put in any address they want to find out what a house is for sale for in week 2. Week 3, they're going to get a text message to download my free app to do the same exact thing. Week 4, another phone call will pop up on my smart plan because I put them in command and I started the smart plan. And in 4 weeks is the next time I think of this person. When it says, hey, you need to call Brad. It's like, oh yeah, I did. I talked to him 4 weeks ago. Hey, Brad, what's going on? How you doing? Right? So I'm just following the plan, just like the book said. So those are the main things that I wanted to make sure that we covered. Like, we are not going to get into detailed command stuff in this Ignite session at all. You guys will have hands-on tech trainers in your offices that are teaching you command. What I want to give you is the mastery level of how you want to use command and get excited about command, or whatever database you're using. I don't even care about that. But if you don't have one, it is definitely command. So we always have a command section that I'm going to touch base on it for a second, but we're not going to go into details on it. This is not a command class. This is a mastery level, how to use it all. But command, it's going to be real easy to put tasks in there to remind you to make a phone call 4 weeks from now, 8 weeks from now. And you're going to be able to do it on your app too, and have everybody at your fingertips. So when that pops up on your task for the day, you just pick up the phone and hit dial and make your calls. Also in the toolkit, you're going to have some extra stuff. This is in the link where the documents will be. I am quite certain everybody registered. If you haven't registered yet, just send an email back to us and let us know that you need the link to the content. But it has the script books. It has all kinds of stuff in there that you're going to use. So Spark, we're going to cover everything from your career to the language to your databases, your business, setting goals, how to find and win the buyers, how to find sellers. We're going to talk about all that stuff in the next 9 sessions, or like 2.5 weeks, right? And then in Elements, we'll actually go back through a lot of that same stuff, and it's the how-to, the daily activities that you'll be doing. So here's the challenge: grow and manage your database. Now this says 10 a day. Ignite is about igniting your career. So if you can get 10 a day, great. If you do 5 a day, I'm happy as a clam, because I know if you do 5 every single day, you're going to have 1,200 people in your database that you connected with over the next 12 months. So I went a couple of minutes over. Ooh, 7 minutes over. That might be a regular thing if you want to really like put in that cush. Sometimes with great questions and great content, I go about 3 to 5 minutes over pretty regularly, cramming a lot of stuff in. But how many of you right now, anything you want to share about today's session? Have I reignited you? Have I gotten you a little more excited about this database thing and your list of people? Any questions?
I'm just happy I did this from the beginning, Brad.
I know. Yeah, you jumped in the
Oh
middle.
my goodness.
Yes, you jumped in the middle. Now you got the beginning. And I will always remind you guys about this notebook all the way through. Don't try and shortcut it. That is the shortcut.
No, definitely not. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz, for sharing that. Anyone else? Ahas. Oh, yeah. While you're doing, don't leave yet. While you're sharing your ahas, I'm going to give you a link to use to let us know what you thought about the session, because this is how you guys keep me coming back and go more and more and more and deeper into more and more stuff, is by filling out this survey and letting them know what you thought of today. But if anybody wants to share, what you'll do is in the chat box, just click that link. It's going to open up another tab so that after we close out, you've got the tab open that you can go in and complete the survey. It's pretty short, quick survey, but it gives me the ahas so I know what you like out of the class and what I need to make sure I keep bringing every single session. So just click the link, get it open in another tab, and then share your last minute ahas before we shut off today's call. Or anything else I can help you with. You guys love the notebook thing? Simple, keep it simple. And I've tried the spreadsheet, and when you're pulling from too many different places, it gets confusing. Go ahead. Were you going to share?
Oh, yes, please.
Okay.
So I'm here because I want some reminders, and I'm doing bold again for the second time. I'm doing it next month, I'm sorry. And what I got from this class was, I think things that we all know, that it's very, the job, it's not just a job, but what we do for a living, it's just very simple. And again, just calling friends and family, we just make it difficult. As you know, we know, I believe that we all know that. But yeah, just so simple, get back to your database, which I believe that's the most important thing to do. Honestly, that's how I get my clients. I kind of get back to my clients, my past clients always give me referrals, and I like to keep it that way. I know some people do love cold calling. It's not my favorite thing to do. I mean, like if I had to, I'll do it, but I would love to have of course, more clients, but all from my referral and referral business. That's gonna be my goal.
Awesome. Thank you. So listen, here's what she just said. Everybody hear this. Michael Gerber and I will both tell you, I've been sharing this for over 20 years. It's so simple. It is 70 sales a year on autopilot coming out of my database because I've been in touch with them for as long as I have. It's actually 100 deals a year. Do you know that I actually track about 30 sales that I miss every single year? Because I live my life and I live it casually. And unfortunately, 70 deals a year is a pretty dang good lifestyle, right? So I don't kill myself on working with people that aren't committed to me. I just fired a $450,000 buyer last week because I sent her the buyer agency to finally sign. She talked me out of letting her sign it the first couple times. The last time I sent it, she's like, I don't feel comfortable signing this. And I was like, if you don't feel comfortable signing it by now, I don't feel comfortable with you not signing it. So if this particular offer does not go through, I will not be working with you after this. And I literally fired a $450,000 buyer because she was not going to make a commitment to me. And I've got 5 more sales coming out of my database at any given time. So the point here is, first of all, Gerber and I do know everybody makes everything more difficult than it needs to be. Listen, all I've said was go to your Facebook friends list, scroll to the bottom, and then write every name in a notebook. And then I said, open up your contact record and just scroll through and write every name in your notebook. Now, if you start to do this and you start getting confused, or it gets like mixed up, or you're like, oh, this, where am I supposed to put this? You're already made it more difficult than it needed to be. It just needs to be writing the names in the notebook. Don't worry about whether you have their phone number yet, their address, any of that stuff. You're going to come back and do that later. You just got to capture it and get it all in one place to be your form. And then you'll work on that every day. That's one thing. Second thing is good old fashioned MREA. And what most agents do is they start here looking for the next deal, looking for the people in the marketplace, like door knocking or open houses or any of that stuff. What I'm saying, and if you actually look at this stuff here, when it's a MET and it's a 12-2, let me see what we got here. The 12 direct, right? And let me see, where's my formula at? I think it's the next page or two. The formulas for the millionaire real estate are 50-1 and 12-2. I think it might have been on the back, next page back. 50-1 and 12-2. I'm going to tell you what we have to do is become top of mind so that when they think of real estate, they think of you. So what I'm telling you right here is this is the 8x8 and 33 touch, which is MET people. I'm trying to do everything backwards. MET people is a 8x8 and 33 touch. What we know about that is for every 12 people that you meet and put on an 8x8, you will get 2 pieces of business. One, they will do business with you, and one, they will refer you because you're top of mind. It's the people in the middle of the bullseye, people that you met, that you got relationships with. The people in the outer ring are 50-1. 50-1, if you take that in a percentage, is 2%. This is millionaire real estate agent people that have been selling real estate for 30 years that make $1 million selling real estate. The reason why it's 2% or 50-1 is 2 people for every 100 people are going to do business with you because they have marketplace presence. They've been doing all this marketing for so many years that 2% is actually a high number, but it's because they have signs and billboards and all this stuff they've been doing for years. But if you're starting out fresh, you're lucky if it's 100-1. It's probably closer to 200 or 300-1 if you're doing mass marketing or mass whatever. If you start with your core list of people that you know, the METs, You got to get reconnected with them first. Once they become a Met again, and you put them on an 8x8 and 33 touch, you now have 12 to 2 return versus 50 to 1 return. Those studies are real as real can be. So all I'm doing is saying to reverse it and come from the inner circle and go out. You're not going to stop doing your marketing to expireds and things like that, because you still have a 1 to 2% chance to get a deal right now. Everybody in the circle, if you got 1,000 people, it's going to take you a year to get in touch with them all before you can cash in on that. So you won't see any immediate results for the first 3 to 6 months. Now, if you did 5 people a day, 100 people a month, I can guarantee you this: you're going to find 2 to 3 people that either just bought, just sold, or they're just starting the process, and you will pick up 1 or 2 deals in the first 3 months. It's happened every single time. The key is to stick with it after the first 3 months and keep going for the next 6 months, because then you get 2 or 3 more, and then 2 or 3 more. And after 12 months, you're not getting 2 or 3 more from the next 5 people that you added. You're getting 2 or 3 more from the new people and 2 or 3 more from the people that you added last year. And by year 3, you're getting 2 and 3 more people from the new, 2 or 3 people from the second year, 2 or 3 people from the third year. You end up like exponentially growing your business by doubling every single year, but you can't do it on a roller coaster ride. So I'll leave you guys with that, unless anybody has any clarity or questions they have around that last minute tip. Thanks for being troopers and hanging in there. Be sure to click the link for the survey. And this is just the beginning, guys. I mean, we're going to go through this for the next 17 more sessions, and it'll be this level of conversation and talk that we're going to have. I'll keep it simple all the way through so you can really do it. All right. I am so looking forward to spending some time with you guys, and we'll love your feedback and love your contributions. Thank you.